just really been thinking about the process of the album all day and kind of all weekend, and just the different stories that transpired from the making of the album and even after the album, and just the state of the world post release of Ism, and how so many things, just like there's so many waves of changes with the album, we have that has definitely mirrored as far as how changes go in the state of the world since the release. And so that this year of Ism being out has definitely been a year. It's been a year. I mean, what a year for the album to come out, all these changes that the world has kind of never seen before, not quite like this.
Just want to backtrack because I feel we just dropped in on everyone and say hello and officially welcome everyone to our now second Stepney drop-in, and introduce ourselves. We appreciate you for joining us this evening to celebrate a whole year of Ism. Baby Ism is a toddler. Yes. But I am Shantae Stepney, and my sisters.
I am Charlene Stepney.
I am Eber Stepney.
Right. Awesome.
And we are so pleased to have this celebration in honor of Junius Paul, who's become like a little brother to us. So congratulations. And Ayana, if you could start us off with You Are Free to Choose, that'd be great. And then we can go into our conversation.
Cool.
Awesome. Oh, my internet.
Now it's out.
It'll come.
Could I take just a moment to talk about our connection to Junior?
Hey.
Hey.
You know what? So every time I listen to that, I'm like, okay, you got to tell me what the thought, what was the idea about that song? And before I go into that, Micaiah McCraven is in the house. So we're excited to hear what you've done, because I know you edited, you co-produced it, had a big impact on that sound. And then Scotty McNice. Did you change your name?
Nice.
Scotty, you are McNice. So,
my Zoom persona.
McNice, Scotty McNice in the house. So Junius and Micaiah, can you guys shed some light on what was that about? It was incredible. Especially, I was nervous that you were gonna hurt your fingers on that.
Yeah, with that, a big idea of that was just getting an opportunity to capture that sound and that spirit that Junius, and not only Junius, but Junius and the whole community of musicians around him, and things that we take part of and be able to capture him kind of, taking that ship and capturing his sound. And for me, that was kind of like the exciting thing about this whole process and session, and why I thought it was like ultimately a really important record that I wanted to like help make and help get done was, you know, Junius, who's like, you know, one of my closest collaborators and best friends, you know, seeing him flourish in the music scene in Chicago with such a bold, unique sound, but playing with so many different people around the city, crossing different genres, crossing different spaces, and really, you know, that being really, you know, unique in a lot of ways. And I felt like, you know, he was kind of to me, in my understanding of like my navigating through a lot of the jazz scene, like somebody really was able to like touch all different aspects of it. And I really wanted to like, you know, be able to help, you know, document that. And so, you know, what I think we were listening to there is just real. It's just real, them playing in the moment, and it's real vibe. I don't even know if what the thought going through the head would actually be. You know, I think, you know, in some ways we're transcending, or they were, I'm not even playing, but like the musicians are transcending, you know, language in the literal sense. And so, you know,
Right.
so.
Nice. Makes a lot of sense because he does have his hands in Chicago music.
Absolutely.
Right, right. Beautiful. You want to expand on that, Junius?
Yeah, sure. I thought that was very well said by Micaiah, as far as just really translating a spirit, and also trying, or I guess I should say, making the best effort to be a conduit for, as far as like the influences that have been able to affect me and hopefully flow through me, you know, as I continue on the journey of being an artist. And so I think it's really, along with what Micaiah said, I think it's just that there's a huge influence of Vincent Davis and Percussion Plus playing with his band at the Velvet Lounge. The Velvet Lounge itself is a huge influence. The AACM, you know, Fred Anderson, Art Ensemble of Chicago, and you know, you have so many, D. Alexander, Ernest Dawkins. I mean, there's so many names of Chicago people that play such a big role, and even playing in church, you know, from being a teenager. All these things have just become, I guess, what the expression of ism was. And I think You Are Free to Choose, the reason that I chose that to be the first song of the album, and also the reason why, or I think, Scotty, was that my choice or was that your choice? I'm trying to remember. Was You Are Free to Choose? I think I wanted to start with that, and then you kind of went from there. I can't remember, but because Scotty did. Yeah, but
There was a number of ways that you know,
that things kind of went. Yeah, but I thought it was a great start to the album, because especially with the title, You Are Free to Choose, because I feel like for me, as putting out the album, and as soon as you drop the needle or press play on the CD or, you know, your phone or whatever, that it's like I'm giving you, me as the host, if you will, I'm giving you the opportunity to choose how you want to listen to this album. Some people might listen to it and get scared and turn it off, and that's okay too, you know, off jump. And that's okay, you know. It's like, because maybe they'll come back and revisit it, maybe they won't, but it is my statement. And so that's, you know, statements aren't always meant to be comfortable for everybody, but I am giving you the opportunity to choose at this point. Look, this is how we're starting. It's not going to be like this the whole time, but I'm just letting you know you're going to get into some of this. So, you know, it's your choice to kind of stick along with the ride, or, you know, go for something a little bit lighter.
If I could add, you know, I really think of this, you know, it's in the title, Isms. You know, this is Junius's record, you know, very much so. Like the isms, you know, I think we always joke about was like the isms were all those interesting, unique musical things and ideas coming out of Junius. It was like those are your isms, you know.
Right.
That was his sound, that was his thing, you know. And you know, I really think about that. You know, it was you know, as a producer, it was a difficult record to kind of help, I think, Junius navigate. And there was a lot of different like ways that things happen, and it was a lot of things were happening by chance and just because it was happening, you know. And I think ultimately, you know, it really, you know, it really spoke to you.
Well, thank you, man.
It spoke, you know.
I appreciate that. And yeah, and also you are free to choose whatever direction you want to go in your life. You know, it's about free will and choice. So, you know, that title and the way the album started, you know, that was definitely by design.
Speaking of the album, I'm gonna give it to Scotty too, because it's your label, you and David. Where did you see Junius? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Where did you see Junius in the family, in the IA family? Because I have heard some stories like, okay, come on, Junius, your turn. Micaiah, you guys, come on, Junius, your turn. Come on, Junius. You had to give him a little push. But give us some insight before we go back to more music.
I mean, I first heard Junius before International Anthem existed. Micaiah brought him to the series that we were putting on at the Bedford, which is a now defunct place. And Micaiah brought Junius and Justin on that night, and there was the three, Justin Thomas, the vibraphone player. And I don't know, man. I feel like, I mean, the label was definitely, you know, the plan at the time. We were planning to start a label, but we didn't really know how, you know, and it was all in process. And I think, I really think back to that night of when the three of them improvised together and just the sound they made. And for me, it was just, it felt very groundbreaking and eye-opening. And I think a lot of what the music they made in that night kind of really helped me imagine what kind of direction that we'd like to see the label go in, you know. It was just incredibly creative and really like rhythmic, and it was collectivist the way they played together. And I'd never heard anyone play like Junius before. I mean, I've said pretty much since then that Junius is my favorite bass player walking the earth. And so I don't know. I mean, I think you know, it wasn't long after Micaiah's record started doing really well and they were touring together that he and Junius and Micaiah were talking about doing a release, and then they both started talking to me about it. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a no-brainer for me once Junius finally put himself out there. I think at Micaiah's encouragement, Junius was like, I want to make a record. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. What do you need from me? So I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if it was like a grand plan or what, or more just a reaction to a musician who was already working with Micaiah, who had put records on the label, and he was one of my favorite bass players, and I really thought he was wonderful and believed in what he's doing, and I just wanted to make myself available to make it happen. I kind of never imagined it would take as long as it would to get it out, and there was times where I thought, man, I don't think it's gonna happen, you know. It's but we kept, I don't know, I guess we just learned, you know. We learned that things happen at different speeds, and sometimes you're on JP time. So, so I don't know. I don't really know what to say as much as, yeah. I mean, ever since I first heard Junius play, I think he and Micaiah and you know, all the musicians in the label in general, they dictate what the sound is, and then I just try to be there to kind of, you know, I guess facilitate and like try and hopefully help channel it in a direction that sounds good to me. But so if you're asking me where he fits into the International Anthem family, he's one of the people that defines what that means, you know. So I don't really know what else to say about it.
Oh,
Thanks. Yep, thank you.
So I just wanted to take a moment. I don't know if it was clear. Junius is a really good friend of the family, the Stepney Sisters. And we call him a stepbrother now. He reached out to us and he was like, I'm such a fan of your father's. And we went to hear him. And as you can see, he is so kind and warm and so very ingratiating. And he knew probably more about Dad, maybe more than we did. Like, we get stuff from Junius all the time. I didn't know your dad was on this. I'm like, wow, we didn't either.
we didn't either. Him and Ayana.
Yeah, we spent a ton of time talking with Junius, hours and hours about my father and his music and his just highly intimately knowledgeable about what it is that my dad has done as a musician, and about my dad's contribution as a musician. And so you had started working on this album before, you know, before we met you, but maybe, you know, not that long, but because we have known you for quite a few years now. But Junius, in return, well, we met Ayana the same night at Chicago Soul Fest. Was that it, Ayana? Chicago Soul Fest, which was great, at Navy Pier, where they highlighted Chicago musicians. And Ayana is pretty much a historian of Chicago music, and we met her that same night. And although my daughter was very, very familiar with Ayana, she's a disc jockey here. And every time I would get in the car with my daughter, I'd be like, "Who is that?" She's like, "That's Vocalo." Is that, did I say it right? Vocalo. And I'm like, "Who is it?" But it was always really nice. She's, every time you get in the car, you ask me, it's Vocalo. So I did finally get to make the connection with Ayana. Anyway, Junius and my sister got together, and they started working on a project that is yet to come. However, that's where we bring in Scotty McNeese, who is the owner of International Anthem, who released this record on Junius called Ism. And but Scotty is very unique in that they specialize in these really nice artwork and vintage, and they specialize in local Chicago artists who are just really unique and outstanding. And we're looking forward to all the good things to come for Scotty and for us working with Scotty and Junius. It's gonna, and Micaiah, I'm sorry. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited about what the future holds for us all. So I just wanted to, before we moved on, kind of make the connections. And Micaiah produced most of Junius's album, right, Junius? And
Yes.
um, so, you know, and he's a drummer here. He is, well, he's in Hawaii, so I guess he's not from Chicago anymore. But anyway,
He's
he's
in a totally different hot place on the planet.
so he's amazing in his own right. He's also an artist on the International Anthem label. So I just kind of wanted to tie together who's here and why. And we spend a lot of time talking to Junius, and now it's quite a bit of time sometimes talking to Scotty too. So yeah, that's what I just want to tie that together for everyone.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Sure.
We have up here, you know, I'm gonna say it wrong because I don't know why I want to say it like I'm speaking French. Age. I say. What is
Ashe.
it? Ashe. Okay, Ashe.
Ashe.
Can we hear some Ashe, Ayana?
Yay. I don't know where Charlene went.
I wanted to go on.
Yeah, that was
I'm
so
back.
Ashe started out with the solo, and I think one of the unique things, if I may say real quick about Ashe, I think one of the unique things about that song is that, and I think it's really cool that Micaiah in his production work did some editing on that song and helped to kind of mold it together, because the actual version is much more extended than that. And so I think, you know, with Micaiah's ear, I think he did a great job I'm just kind of putting it, together to make it what it is. But one of the unique things that he did with this was he actually did some like editing and looping some parts of my solo.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask if Micaiah had done any looping on that.
Yeah, he did some looping.
Well, I think I'm trying to remind me, Junius, like, because I feel like we were in a hotel room somewhere in the world.
Paris. That was in Paris.
In Paris. Yeah, we were working on it. And, like one thing I like to do is like, as I'm going through it, is like, I'm kind of looping things as I go, and we're together, and I'm like, it might just sit on something. And I think we hit that first line, that first Juniusism, because I would find a lot of these kind of licks and bass lines and just incredible ideas all over, like in the moment, and different records that like I've made with Junius. And we heard that, and I think we had that on loop for a long time. I think as soon as that kind of Junius already had, like, he immediately was like, it was like, boom, that's a concept, and the title came
from that.
That night. But what was the session? That's with Vince and
that's with this quartet. Yeah, that's Vincent Davis, Corey Wilkes, Justin Dillard.
And also that one was recorded outside on the street corner, which a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
So actually, I think.
Oh, I was gonna say, ironically, down the street from the Bedford, where.
That's true. Yeah. No, but we had this series going where we were programming music at the Polish Triangle, which is where Milwaukee Division and Ashland meet. There's a little pad of concrete above the Blue Line stop, and we were programming music at rush hour. So like that recording happened outside during rush hour on the corner of Division, Milwaukee and Ashland. So propers to Dave Vitrano, and I think David Allen might have been there with him that night too, for capturing that so well outside in the middle of rush hour.
So much respect.
Also when you hear like the sound too, the sound, because Dave, I think, did the initial mix, he mixed it down to tape. So then you hear it like with the way that Micaiah used compression on his stuff, like you can really hear that tape compression in there too. It's pretty cool sound, I think.
Yeah.
What does
I love
mean?
just like the capturing of that that moment out there. It's real. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, just tell me. I was just asking, what does Ashe mean?
So Ashe is it's another, just like Amen. Ashe is another. It's actually a I forget which exact country it comes from, but in Africa, but it's basically like a word of confirmation, like it is so. And so it's the same thing as Amen. Some people in prayers with Amen, some people in prayers with Ashe. I use both, because that's just, that's how I roll. But it's a word of agreement, similar, like I say, similar to Amen. And it basically just means it is so.
Wow. Love it. Well, we got more people. It's time for drop-in. Okay.
Drop-in time.
Drop-in.
Dropping in that, I don't consider myself the most sophisticated musical ear, but I think that what the magic that you and Micaiah create with the combination of what I call this high art jazz element, along with those loops, as my high school English teacher would say, Kansas City milkman, for your everyday run-of-the-mill average ear. I love that you have bridged that gap, to incorporate this beautiful music in that way, something that's familiar and unique. So I just really appreciate that and want to say that, and thank you.
Oh, if I may say quick, thank you so much, Shanta. If you're not speaking, can you put your phones on mute?
Uh-oh.
Oh, and
or your Zoom, put your Zoom on mute, I mean. Yeah, put your Zoom on mute.
If you've been watching on Facebook, you can mute your Facebook.
So maybe you can go through and start introducing. I'm muting some people until we figure out who it is.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start with two people that surprised me here, and they're my parents.
Yay! It was supposed to be a surprise.
My mom, if there's a video feature on there, Ma, you can if you can find it. But yeah, my mom is on here. My dad is on here. Thank you all so much for being here. What a pleasant surprise. I truly appreciate it. And we have, let me see, I'm gonna start at the bottom here. We have Yana Amina, who actually she's not on the album, but she helps with my image that you see as far as the tights go. She's somebody that actually makes custom tights for me. She's based out of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she's quite amazing. Next to her, if everybody has the same order, is Justin Dillard, who is a part of my quartet and a longtime friend, and actually has a big stamp on ISM. He has a large part to do with the album sounding the way it sounds. And we've been just rocking for a long time. And next to him is Alejandro Ayala, and he is a good friend. I actually met him through Scotty McNeese in the early In the Moment days at the Bedford that Scotty mentioned earlier. Alejandro started coming around then, and he's just become a real homie in the years, and he's given me some really cool opportunities to DJ different things, and just always been a great supporter. He did the promo flyer for the e-flyer for tonight's event, so thank you for that as well. It looks amazing. And that was actually from, what show was that, Alejandro, was that flyer from? I can't remember.
Comfort Station.
Right, that was from the Comfort Station show. And that was the Comfort Station was the first series of shows that I did, of recordings that I did for ISM. That was in June of 2016. So next to him is Joe Brill, who I met just over the years, always coming around. And most of you guys, if you know Dorian's record shop, you know Joe, and Joe is always spending some great music, and is another just huge supporter of the music for so many years, and a huge record and music aficionado, I'll even say. And yeah, there's my mom down there with the video. And I think that's it. I think everybody else has been introduced. So yeah.
Nice. So I do want to ask Yana, because I'm gonna go to tights. I already made a statement earlier about the tights. Do you do any special designs for him, Yana, or is it just like he can put on whatever you have made or created and it looks good?
Turn your mic on. There you go.
He can pretty much wear anything, but I think one of my best projects when it came to tights were the vegan leather ones that we made, and I basically pieced together pieces of vegan leather and created these amazing tights. Yeah, but I just like that he wears tights. I mean, it doesn't really matter what kind they are or who made them or what brand they are. I love it. I love it.
Right. Incredible. What about, let's go to, we lost Justin.
He'll be back.
Justin, you still there? Let's go to Mom and Dad. Mom
Hi,
and
hi,
Dad.
Dad. Turn your mute off, Ma. Yep.
I did.
All right.
Let's talk about how you feel about, of course, your son. We know you're proud, but give us some mom-dad history on Junius.
Okay. I don't want to embarrass him. He's been musical. I remember just a real quick story, and Junie, let me say my story now. We were in we had a minivan, and I was driving, and his brother and sister had a Kermit the Frog keyboard that had some programmed songs, and it had, or you could play your own songs. And Junie was in a car seat, and they were sitting, they were older than he was. And so all of a sudden I heard this Michael Jackson song being played behind me. And I just didn't know that was part of Kermit the Frog's repertoire. So I turned around and almost had an accident, because he was back there playing I don't know, something from, what was your album, Junie?
Bad was my Michael Jackson album.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, he came into this world. I used to teach piano lessons and he would correct the kids. He didn't know what the note was that was supposed to be the right note, but he knew that that was not the right one. And sometimes he'd go to the piano and just play the right note for them, and they would just get so irritated. So he's always been musical. It's all in my family. It's in his dad's family. And so I'm just extremely proud of him and the person he is. He's a fantastic young man. I'm proud to call him my child.
Oh, that was beautiful. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Mm,
Fabulous, fabulous.
some ears.
What about you, Dad?
Stories to tell. Like his mom said, he's always been musical. One of the things, and the music, Junius is a gift to us. All of our children are gifts, but he's certainly a gift to us. He was a young child and precocious. I mean, he would say things, you all know he's an old soul. And he would say things, and his mom and I would look at each other like, whoa, where did that come from? Because he was so young and what he was saying was so old, just so philosophical at such a young age. And the gift, it's more phenomenal than I could ever imagine. He's always loved music. I used to disc jockey for an FM radio station in Chicago, and I had a midnight to 3 a.m. show, but I also did gigs on the side, wedding receptions and things like that. And Junius would sit there and watch me and listen to me, make sure every album that I was going to use for that event had no scratches and it was in great condition. So he could tell me, and I didn't know it at the time, but he could tell me, he could give me a playlist and it was what I was going to play. If you walked into our house, you would think that someone 30 years old was playing music and it was this young 10-year-old child, just an old soul. And so the gift is just so amazing. And I am blessed to call him my child, but I can't take credit for that because his mom and God just decided, okay, you all are going to birth this child and I'm going to give him this and I'm going to give him this and I'm going to throw in some extra stuff here. And it's just amazing. So I too am honored to be the father, to be a parent to Junius Paul.
Oh, that's so nice.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for being on.
Thank y'all so much. Wow.
Those
I
are
don't think they're lying either. I don't think so. I don't think they're lying.
They're not lying. They are not lying.
I hope not.
I heard you say, Scotty and Makai, I believe I heard you guys say before about how you have recorded different songs on the album in different places and kind of non-traditional, not just in the studio, which was pretty cool. And with you guys kind of being sound engineers and sound managers, that was a big piece. But I'm gonna ask you, Micaiah, so when you pull those different sounds in, because when I'm listening, there's a whole album of sound pieces. They're all different kinds of movements. And I want to ask you, what was some of the inspiration behind some of the different sounds? I'm gonna give you a minute to think about it because I want Ayana to play one of my faves. Okay, and that is Paris. I love Paris. So she's gonna play, and then you can come in, Micaiah, give us some more wisdom on the choice. You gotta unmute, Ayana.
You're muted.
Sorry.
There you go. we've lost a lot of sound, but that's beautiful. If you guys haven't heard it, please make sure you pick it up. Listen to
Yeah.
yeah,
You
but
really get that didn't, yeah, you need to hear it.
yeah, you need to hear it. So Micaiah, let us know if you can, like, was there any special inspiration in the choice and the music and where you recorded it and all of those things?
Sure. Well, the location it was recorded was at the Hideout, which is a venue in Chicago, which has kind of turned into a special place for us to perform in different contexts through international anthem and just the larger family. And so I think it was a really great place. And it hosted, I think, what, a whole month of Junius performances for this record, you know? And so it was a very a special place for that. And you know, recording in these open spaces, at least in my concept, is always really not about the space particular, but just the fact that, you know, we're getting together and we can play together in a comfortable space without necessarily the same overhang of like a studio atmosphere. We're in an open environment. And that particular recording, you know, and I think this speaks to a lot of this record, but that recording was me and Junius and Marquise Hill trio for one of Junius's nights at the Hideout. And you know, the three of us have played together a lot through the years in a variety of different situations. And I'd say my personal connection with Junius is I probably played more with him than any other bass player that I can think of throughout the years, you know. And I think that's a something that's consistent on the record too. It's like, would say like Justin Dillard and Junius connection with Justin, and just the different musicians, and how that there's a real connection. So when we're improvising, you know, we can really play together in a way. And so I mean, that's what was going on when I remember that session, is that it was Junius's we were there as kind of Junius's brothers to play, and we were in a very familiar space. And then as my job as the producer then was when was just kind of trying to edit that piece together, that longer piece, into something that had some more form and some different things to fit on the record, and have a little bit of that other flavor that was part of the project.
Nice. So you guys have world acclaim too for this first album. How does that feel, Junius, when the whole world is like, yeah, I like that?
It was really cool. It's been really cool, and I think a lot of that has to do, along with people, fortunately, the number of people liking the album. I think a lot of that also has to do with the international anthem outreach, or the reach that they have, I should say, that they've grown from, because In the Moment was one of the early international anthem recordings. And from In the Moment, there was a certain level of publicity that they put out for that record. They had a certain budget for it and the whole thing, and it just like really caught on. So it just kind of developed this following. And so a lot of the international anthem records from there have really just kind of fallen in that, where people, not only do they look for records by individuals, they look out for records by the label. Like people, I don't know if I've seen a label quite like that, where, at least not in this time, where you see as many people looking for the artist, you see just as many people looking just for releases from the label. And I think that's a testament to the label. So the fact that International Anthem has that reach to be able to get to different record stores around the world. And there was a post that I just saw on Instagram that I was tagged in with Anthem about at a record store with Ism being in Australia, you know. And so, you know, the fact that it can get to those places is really, it's a huge blessing. And like I said, as much as it is a number of people just really enjoying the record, which is humbling. It also, I'm very much just as appreciative to the label, to Scotty and David Allen and everybody, Dave Petrino for doing an incredible job mixing the album, you know, just everybody over at Anthem for their support and the fact that they were able to get ISM out to the people, you know, and the presentation has something to do with that too. The fact that it's a double LP, it's got this incredible, we call it a full bleed on the front. You know, we had talks about that and it just ended up being that, and I'm glad it was. So, you know, just so many things that Anthem did as far as just presenting this record to the world, I think that helped a lot. So I'm very grateful for that.
I just know I really wanted one of those. What color was the album? What color was it? I didn't get
Oh,
it.
the special did the green, the limited is the green and gold. I got one for you. I got one.
Oh,
I
do
got
you?
you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
Right,
got
we
you.
had to pass it from one sister to the next.
If I could,
Yeah, the Stepney family one. I don't know if many of those I have left, but I got you. I got you.
Okay.
but if I
Micaiah.
could add, Junius, though, to what you just kind of said about the label, you know, and the label's growth. You know, one thing that, you know, with all of this growth and from In the Moment and International Anthem, you know, that I've always felt that I've been proud about this, the label and my part in it, and is that, like, it really has felt like the familial growth, you know. And so as much as you know, I feel like you know, the label has been there for you and for me, you know. I think the same things, like, to the contributions, you know, that you've made to the label, and it's like really feels familial, and like that growth that comes together, you know. And yeah, and that was one reason, like, when Scotty and I were talking on the side for years, it was always like, when's Junius' record? Because your sound was a real big part of the label, you know. And so that growth comes directly from you too, you know what I mean? It comes right back to you. And you know, that's all I wanted to add to that, you know.
I love that.
It definitely reciprocates.
I feel love Alejandro and Joe. We'd love for you guys to chime in on your part, and I love listening to Joe. I mean, when I'm in there with a drink, I'm like, this is the best music ever. You're just like incredible. And
well, I sound better when people are drunk.
Last time I was there, man, I was like, I gotta go ask you what's your playlist, because I heard a Tina Turner song I don't think I've ever heard. It was incredible. But I was a little tipsy. But
Me
it was
too.
still good. But please share.
Yeah, well, this is for Junius and both Micaiah. Now, you know, we're at this strange period now of COVID and such, and everything is kind of shut down for live music and other venue opportunities. What are you guys doing right now to keep the fires burning, and what do you think might be a possibility of 2021? Now, I saw Micaiah play on the Green Mill Live, which was amazing. But what do you guys think holds the future for us? Because we're all in this kind of very strange situation.
It is a very strange situation, and it's I say all the time, like, when I have these conversations, and I've been asked that by different people, that question that you asked throughout the pandemic, I've gotten that question in different forms. And the first thing that I always say is, as an artist, yes, we have our struggles as an artist as far as these times and the different adversities that we've had to deal with, but we're not alone as far as, like, a world that's really dealing with so many different types of struggle with this. I mean, we could go on and on and on with it, as far as not just finances, mental, it's spiritual, people, and bringing it back to the artist point of view. One of the things, or there's a few things that we miss, obviously. One is, outside of just losing gigs and work, which is how we make our money, of course, a big part of, I should say, how we make our money. There's also the aspect of just physical connection with people that we lose. And I think that's such a big part of it. And not only does the artist suffer from that, but the audience member suffers from that as well. It's cool to experience a gig on your phone or your iPad or your whatever device you use, but when you're actually getting, you know, music is a vibration, and so it's a frequency. And so when you're in the moment with this music and really feeling this music in person, there's things that happen. That's why live music, people just go nuts over live music. You know, people scream at shows and all these kinds of things, because there's a certain energy that comes with that, with you being in the same space as these people who are performing, and they're as you're giving them that energy, they're giving it right back. And so we definitely as artists miss that, along with the financial aspect of it, just like losing a lot. But I'll say that also there's been many groups that have many organizations that have tried to be as supportive as possible. Three Arts has definitely been one that's been supportive for me throughout this pandemic, and I'm very grateful for that. So there's also many organizations, like I said, that are trying to help musicians as much as possible, or artists, I should say, as a whole. But even with that said, the struggle is still real, and it affects people. I'm just only naming two things out of many, because just like how it affects the rest of the world, it affects artists in different ways depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, well, we really miss all you guys playing live, to say that, because it's been such of a focal point of our lives. That's how we end up meeting each other, is through this interaction that we're having. I think I remember you dropping over at Dorian's. I was playing a track, Funky Space Reincarnation or so by Marvin Gaye.
Yes.
And you noticed that I slowed it down 2 beats, because you have perfect pitch, I think, right? So, you know.
Yes, he
Yes.
yes, he does.
Yeah, and so no one else would notice that I would slow it down by 2 beats, but you did right away, and you came up to me. You're going, "Why did you do that?" You know?
Cool.
I'm always interested with that kind of stuff. You know, that's that DJ stuff that always intrigues me. Why DJs do what they do and why they slow this down and speed this up. I've always been intrigued by that.
And
Very impressive.
I lost Joe. Oh, there you go, Alejandro. If you could share.
I have nothing to add to any of this. It's like everything, everybody said everything. It's beautiful, you know. It's been a family affair. I'm so proud of Junius. I was with. I'm in total agreement with Scotty and Micaiah, and you know, I was waiting and waiting and waiting for Junius to do something. And even when he was doing everything at the Hideout, I was waiting. You know, he's like at the end of each show, he's like, "Yeah, it's coming out in April or whatever it was," you know. And it ended up being, you know, like 3 or 4 years later, you know. But it was so worth the wait. I have to agree with everything everybody said. I have nothing else to add to any of this.
Alejandro, do you do all the artwork?
No, not all of it. No. I think originally my title with the label is best friend of the label. I think Scotty gave me that title. I used to lug around I don't know, like 40 pounds worth of Micaiah's records in New York and handing them out to VIPs out there. I'm Junius's first cheerleader, I'd say. I released.
You're gonna say that? You're gonna say that while his parents are on the phone?
Right.
Third cheerleader.
Come on, man.
Third cheerleader, fourth cheerleader. I'm not sure.
A big one, and yeah. I appreciate it.
We, I mean, Junius and I worked on a project together years back, and that was thanks to Micaiah, who introduced us. So I've just, you know, number 3 cheerleader of Junius.
No, the artwork I've seen is just beautiful.
Thank you.
That you've done. And before we pull in Justin, I did want to ask you a question, because I'm trying to remember the name of that song where you are just running all over that Fender Rhodes. What is the name of it? Help me, somebody. Spocky Chainsy?
Spocky Chainsy has reemerged. Yes.
Spocky Chainsy has reemerged. And I think that Mr. Dillard is doing something crazy on that Fender Rhodes. Can you tell us, like, why was this so bad? Is he thinking?
And that was one of the ones at Polish Triangle.
I mean, there we go.
And that was live too? That was live? Outdoor?
Yeah, that was recorded live at the.
Wow.
Wow.
Yep, that was live. You there, Justin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, Charlene, can you question? Or did you get the question?
Yeah, I got the question.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about my internet's going in and out or something like that. But quickly, as much as a lot of musicians love to play the humble role, I'm not that guy. And so, I am what they would call a bad mofo. And I would think that, that Junius is chosen from the elite mountainous amount of musicians that are in Chicago. And we are here from a fortunate standpoint, a lucky standpoint, a deserving standpoint, and a blessed standpoint. And each of those hold a special weight. So not to, go on too long about it, but, he's chosen the people that are going to help express his voice for this project the best that we can. And I think we did that. We've played together for so long, and it's almost scary at times how connected we are. And that's just not only from me and Junior standpoint, but from me and Corey, from me and Vincent Davis, and all the other musicians that have played on the album as well. We've studied and we've been around the masters, and we have been fortunate enough to get the tutelage from them. We've done our own homework, and it comes out in this album. It comes out in our live playing. It comes out in our camaraderie as friends, as musicians, as young masters, as future elders. And it's just, we deserve this. I mean, I know the humble route is usually the way to go, but the amount of work that people do not get to see, the amount of suffering, the amount of tears and blood that we spend on these instruments, it is absolutely, it's ridiculously deserving of us, because we have bled for this music. Some of us have gotten carpal tunnel. Some of us have not been able to walk. Some of us have done things for this music that other people would not have done for their 9-to-5s. And the irony is that these people oftentimes look down at our profession. And it's funny. You can't do anything but laugh, but understand that we update our work every day. A new song comes out, a different style, something that we have not studied. And this is displayed on the album, that in any album that we perform on, but specifically talking about this album, the expertise that we display is displayed excellently by the people that have been on this album, because we've done the work. And, we are, like I said, fortunate, blessed, lucky, all of the above, to have been able to do that. So I'm not gonna, I worked hard to be able to do what I can do, and largely is part in due to Junius. I play organ literally because of Junius Paul, because he worked so much at one time. There was no one else available of his caliber. So I had to start playing bass myself on organ. And that's how I started my group, which Micaiah was in. He was the second drummer, I'm sorry, for that, it was the real iteration of that group. But Junius has not only spawned himself as a musician, but he has spawned other people. And I am directly a descendant of his tutelage. And he is fastly becoming a librarian of the Chicago area in general. So I'm happy to be a part of this. Sorry I went on so long.
Oh, it's cool. I would say it's the other way around, as far as like really, because I mean, when I met Justin almost 20 years ago, he was so advanced on the piano that I felt like I had a lot of catching up to. And so I feel like that is for real. And so I feel like that's kind of where, and then, Justin and I are both coming through the ranks as musicians, and, here comes Corey Wilkes, who's, decides to give us gigs and give us work and kind of take us out there and expose us to different things, which has so much to do with the development. So it's like, that's one of the things about ISM that I'll say, before you continue, Charlene, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I think it's one of the big parts of this album that I'm very proud of is that it's like a chronological documentation in a way of my story as a musician and how I was able to just come up as a musician, and these people that were involved in helping me to become the musician and person that I am. And there's even more people in Chicago that helped me along the way that aren't on the album. So it's not just the album. There's so many people. I could be here all night naming people who have just like helped me along the way for this album to even exist.
I was laughing because the first time I saw Justin play, I think I was with Lynn, and he just had the keyboard sitting on his lap, and I'm like, "Is that gonna fall?"
The laptop keyboard. That's what we call it.
Yeah.
And no, because he was still wearing it out. And I was like, I think the dude was drinking and playing and then writing letters to home. I was like, he knows what he's doing. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna stay in my lane.
Can I interject for just a second?
Yes, Mr. Paul.
I appreciate Justin saying what he said. And Justin, you wear that well. You
Thank
wear,
you.
as you say, I'm not the humble one, but you wear it well. And I want to speak to, Junior said he met Justin almost 20 years ago. So keep in mind that they were teenagers.
Right.
And I'm reminded of a Tribune article that was at least a 2-page spread. And the writer talked about these young jazz musicians who were the up and coming musicians to watch in the Chicago area. And I don't remember all of the musicians who were in there. Justin, you might have been in that article. Corey was in that article. Junius was in that article. I don't know if Vincent was in the article. Micaiah should have been in that article because
he wasn't even in Chicago yet.
What we've been exposed to are musicians whose skill sets are so tremendous. We get to hear music that a Roscoe Mitchell trio might be playing because they've been playing long enough. And that's not to take anything away from Roscoe, but they've been playing long enough to have mastered some skill sets. And I'm saying these young musicians hit the scene with a talent level that was incredibly high. If you know music, you hear some things, you sit there and listen to Justin, you sit there and listen to Corey, you sit there and listen to Junius and Micaiah, and it's like, did he just do that? You know, because it's just crazy, the talent that you get to hear and you're exposed to from these young musicians who 20 years later, we can still say are young musicians. But the skill set, the talent is just absolutely crazy good. It's fantastic. So we get blessed to hear you guys play. And you're deserving of all of the accolades and everything that comes with the exposure and the albums. You're deserving of all of it. Absolutely.
And speaking of, Corey, we're so glad you came. We're excited to have you on. Also an incredible talent, Corey Wilkes. Can you share your part with Junius, Micaiah, Justin, and the ISM album?
I'm sorry. I just got back in the house. There's a lot going on. I got kids, and I heard half the question. I'm really not supposed to be on here now. I didn't give them that melatonin shot yet. What did you say? I'm sorry.
It used to be concert back in the day, but but no, I said you're such an incredible talent.
Got me done.
I just want you to share how you got involved. I heard you play at the debut of the album. That was my first time. I'm ashamed, but I'm gonna tell you what, you were blowing. And I would love to hear how you got involved in the whole project as well, Corey.
I mean, just give a short synopsis. I met Junius back in early 2000s. I was when I moved back to Chicago, pretty much about a year or so later. I think I was working with the art ensemble, or I just began working with the art ensemble or Roscoe Mitchell's groups, like around 2001, 2002. So he started hanging around. We met at the Velvet Lounge, I believe, originally, and then we just started hanging just as friends, and built a relationship over the years. listen to music, we just hang out, drink, just, you know, just had a real camaraderie outside of music. It wasn't just a musical bond, it was a friendship, everything combined. So he had been working with my groups over the years eventually. And then we toured together since probably what 2005, I think was one of the first tours we did.
05 was Africa. Yeah, that was,
04. I think I
Yeah.
took you to New York around maybe before then, but we went to we had the opportunity to go to Accra in Ghana, and we were there for like a week playing a big festival. That's like that's a whole nother that could be a book, a little short movie.
Yeah.
That just that trip alone. But you know, that it's been going on almost 18 years or so that we've been, you know, friends, budding musicians and so forth. So I was talking to him a couple of days ago. We did a short performance for a holiday special that'll be presented in about 2 weeks or so for the Jazz Initiatives Jazz Arts in Charlotte. They're doing a holiday special. So we did our Christmas song for the season. And I was just, you know, just commending him on outside of all his, you know, accolades he's accomplished over the years, but just the simplest things that people don't pick up on. Like your post is like is ridiculous now. You know what I'm saying? I've watched his posts be kind of, you know, it could be dictated depending on the drummer. I'm not gonna say any names. They're not in this room, so you cool. But those are just in general, like it's a big thing to be. It's that's a huge feat as a bass player, especially to be able to stand on your own. And that pulse is who you're supposed to be. That's what you represent. That instrument, that heartbeat, that, you know. And I've really heard that even more, and it's become more apparent when we started playing recently, like in a trio setting, you know, because it was just like it's bare bones, and it's like he's like this no matter what. You can move all you want to, you can wiggle all you want to. I got you. It's like a bear hug. Musically though, not it's not stagnant or anything like that. Mechanical. It's very, you know, human-like still, but it's just like it's reached such a level that it's transcended the music and his musicianship and who he is as a person as well. And I think that's why we're all in this room, the new room of 2020.
Right.
But anyway, over the years, like I didn't know we were recording an album, you know. So to answer your question, going back, like how you were a part of the process, I didn't know I was a part of the process, but I know I was a part of the process in some sorts because we've been, you know, together. So we build together. We help each other. Like he's helped with my projects as well, and been a big part of it. Just the way I even hear or think, I'll hear Junius playing this. I'll think about Junius. I'll hear a bass line like, oh shit, that sounds like Junius. That reminds me, you know, it's a lot of little things. But this project, we recorded the live thing at the in Wicker Park. I know there were some other sessions, the hideout and things. I wasn't on that particular one, but I didn't know these were all being documented at the time for something bigger than I even knew about. You know, I was even privy to at the time. And to see it all come together in fruition after all those years, a culmination, like you said, it's like an anthology, a timeline to show the work of Junius and embodiment over that duration of time, and all the people he's worked with that he supported and that support him as well. And it's been a beautiful thing to be a part of, in, you know, so many shapes.
Well, I want to thank you guys all for being a part of the celebration anniversary, and we're hoping that we can do it with you guys later in your productions, because you guys are all incredible. I can hear that synchronization when you guys play with each other. You guys have a good sense of rhythm of each other, and that means a lot to the final production. And I'm sure that's nothing that you get just overnight. It does take time and relationship and that synchronization. So I'm gonna
That's
let
some bad motherfuckers.
Hey, my parents are on here, man.
All right.
Wait, hold on. Shar said that yesterday. I heard
You know,
Shar
it's
say that.
real.
He was right.
Okay, good. All right.
Junior heard it before.
I know. I guess I've heard it before. My mother's just looking like, oh Lord.
That's why I didn't
Sorry,
curse.
I'm sorry.
My mother's heard it
I
before too. It's
crossed the
okay.
line.
My
I
mom
crossed
has
the
heard it before. It's all right, y'all.
It doesn't
crossed-
matter when you're mom, you still got to have that mom face whether you've heard it before.
Thank you, Justin.
Yes. Hey, Mama, I see you. That's why I didn't curse. You know,
Right.
I'm old school. I got that respect. I personally, you know.
Oh, that's cool.
I want you to kind of give us the final words and what your final song. I mean, I love them all. We've heard Part of Paris. I want you to say something as our last words, and let's tell Miss Ayana what you want us to end on today.
Okay, sounds great. Well, first of all, I would like to take this time to really, and this is honestly the real reason, and I'll be brief, but I didn't even really want to, do anything like this, but I was talking to Eber a few days ago, and I was like, well, we brought up the album, and I was like, yeah, well, the 1 year anniversary of the release is on Sunday. Just talking about it, I was just going to make a post and be like, happy 1 year to ISM and be done with it. But she's like, you should do something. You should do a live. You should do a live. And so then we brainstormed, and the Stepney Sisters came to mind. And I'm just very grateful to you all, the Stepney Sisters, Eber, Charlene, Shantae, and just the Stepney family for being so supportive of me, and just being so gracious and appreciating my appreciation of your dad. Because although like the album, like I think that's, and I think I won't even say although, I'll say that I think this album, if you listen to the music of Charles Stepney and his versatility that he's shown like throughout so many years of him doing his work, I think you can hear the influence. Like there's a certain like era that he represents, or different eras that he represents, and all these eras, Stepney, along with so many others, helped to make, this, like I said, that helped to make this what it has become, that Chicago magic, as I call it. I've always felt like there was something in the ground in Chicago that just like affects the music, because there's so much incredible, powerful music that has come from Chicago. And so with that said, I'm just grateful to International Anthem, to you, the Stepney Sisters and the family, and to everybody here. Thank you all so much for coming on board and taking your time to share your thoughts about the album. I really appreciate it. So real quick, I would just like to thank every single person. There was like 16 or 17 people that were on the album. So I want to make sure that I do take the time to thank every single person. I would like to thank Vincent Davis, who was a drummer in my quartet. He was a drummer on the album in small instruments. Justin Dillard on piano, organ, synth, and small instruments. Corey Wilkes on trumpet, shofar, small instruments. Isaiah Spencer on drums and percussion. He was on the first Comfort Station projects, and one of the song that I'm going to choose, Isaiah Spencer was a part of. Jim Baker on piano and arp synth. Rajiv Alim on alto sax. Marquise Hill on trumpet. Makai McCraven on drums, sampler, and production. Scott Hesse and editing. Scott Hesse on guitar. Shanta Narula on Mbira. Irvin Pierce on tenor saxophone. Tamika Reed on cello. Xavier Breaker on drums, and William Kirk on synth. And just everybody who was a part of it, everybody who supported all around the world, in Chicago, just everybody. I really appreciate everybody for making this album that much more special. It's my debut album, so it's already special, but you guys really helped to add that extra thing on it. And so I'm just very appreciative, and more music to come in the future. And I hope you can check out everybody here, Corey, Justin, Micaiah, Ayana. Everybody has their different projects and different things that they do. So, check out everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
You still didn't say the name of the song.
What song?
Oh yeah. So the song that I'm going to choose for this was actually, Ashe was the first single off of the album. And the second single off of the album was Baker's Dozen. And Baker's Dozen is special to me because that was one of the first tracks that actually got done for this entire thing. Like after all the bulk of the live sessions, actually we were still in the process of doing live sessions, and Micaiah put together the beat for Baker's Dozen. Of course, Jim Baker is the reason for the name. It just fit. It was apropos. And Micaiah, I think, did an incredible job of taking what was there. That was Rajiv Halim, Isaiah Spencer, Jim Baker, and myself. And Micaiah was able to take what was there, which was already some pretty banging stuff, and he was able to like make a beat out of it, which I thought was really cool. I appreciated that because Micaiah has his sound, and he did a great job of infusing like my sound along with his ideas and what he was doing, and still make the album sound like me. And I feel like Baker's Dozen, it sounds like me, and it sounds like the people that were in performance that night. But you also hear, I feel like I guess I can call it vintage Micaiah now, as far as like his just like taking these elements and just making like a head nod beat. So that's why that song is special to me.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
The image that I used on the flyer is actually that session. So I posted that in the event wall. You can see what it looked like that day.
That was nice.
So real quick, you guys were talking about Charles Stepney and how a father can influence other people. I just wanted to say real quick, Junius, I see your father there, and I know how much of an influence he was musically on you, as was your mother, but specifically your father. And I want to show you, this is my copy of Midnight Plane.
Oh, come on now. I know that song. Absolutely.
That's one of my dad's favorite records. And Come to My Garden, if I may say real quick, which was the previous special that the Stepney Sisters did. Both my parents had a copy of that record, and so it's a very special, not only to me, but it was a special record in my house. So that was definitely a family record.
That I almost gave away. Nice. Yeah, that's